Half Shell Oyster House offers happy hour at the bar and throughout the restaurant every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Happy hour includes $2 off all glasses of wine, liquor, martinis, mixed drinks, and draft beer, $2.50 on all domestic bottled beer, and $3.50 on all craft bottled beer. So come on out to Half Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Lower Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi 39232, or you can give them a call at 769-257-7586. And hey, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me third-year law student at the University of Mississippi and editor-in-chief of the Mississippi Sports Law Review Journal, Miss Brandi Granderson. Hey Brandi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome back to the show. Last time you were here, we didn't have video.
Right. Moving on up like the Jeffersons, honey.
Like moving on up to the east side. So how's everything been going on your end?
Everything, it is a process. Excuse me for that little bit of noise. It is a little bit of a process. Things have been going really, really fast. I am not only in my last year of law school, preparing to sit for the bar, but being editor-in-chief is a non-stop job. It is definitely, it is a position that most people want to have, because it looks really good if you're editor-in-chief, but it is one that you are not truly a strong individual and can manage 10 plates turning at one time. It is certainly not for the weak.
Stop right there, because I'm gonna get into that.
Okay.
I don't want you to you getting ahead of me. Oh, she ready, people. Miss Brandi is always ready. This is my girl. She always keeps me on my toes. I can call her crying, and she's like, "What, girl? Whatever. Do this, do that, do this. Get yourself together." And so you own it. So give me a second. I just want to get into a few things real quick. So, as you mentioned, last month you were named editor-in-chief of the Mississippi Sports Law Review. Journal. And last year you were a staff editor. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, were your duties? Well, apparently they were not. You were just taking orders or whatever from the editor-in-chief. It was easy then.
Yeah. Normally it's the sports, any law review journal is composed of an executive board. It normally has an executive, not only the editor-in-chief, but the executive editor, which serves as the editor-in-chief right-hand person. And then you have managing editors that range from articles and notes, and articles are from any type of legal article from a practicing attorney. And when you hear the verbiage or the term of art, notes, those are articles or legal compositions from law students who were able to get their information published and come up with a compelling legal topic to discuss that is very interesting to all legal scholars and also practitioners as well.
Okay, so can you explain to the listeners about the Mississippi Sports Review Journal? What exactly is that? And you can go into the duties that consist of being an editor-in-chief now.
Well, the Mississippi Sports Law Review was conceived in 2011. We have a flagship law review, which is the Mississippi Law Review Journal. But in 2011, it premiered as the only sports law review in the Southeast region of the United States, particularly just focused on collegiate and professional sports as well. So the Sports Law Review is like any other law review journal that you hear about in any other place. We just pretty much primarily focus on legal issues, whether they're collegiate, whether they're professional, or anything that has intersectionality with the field of sports and the law. And sometimes your law review journals can have a little bit of a theme. So it's normally up to the editor in chief and the executive editor to set the tone or the theme of the actual law review journal. So you may have, because definitely we're coming out of COVID-19, so you may have a lot of articles focused on that, which we do. We also have one article that will be featuring about women equality in sports and pregnancy discrimination, which we will be featuring because equality in sports among women was a really big issue this year in sports. So that's what the Mississippi Sports Law Review. It's just it's a legal journal like any other law review. We just specifically zone in on the area of sports.
Awesome. So, as editor in chief, what are your plans to take the MSLR to the next level?
Well, there are a number of things that we're necessarily doing. The biggest thing that we're doing is launching an online blog or online platform, which hasn't been done in the past. And so what this will allow for legal practitioners and law students, not only from the University of Mississippi, but from the Mississippi College or any other place, to have a platform to become published, because that's a really big thing within the legal community, whether you're a legal practitioner or not, because if you are granted the opportunity to become published in any type of publication, it says that what your topic is very compelling, and it will educate individuals, and it's a pressing or trending topic right now that will keep their readers interested.
Awesome. So, So, Brandi, when you started law school, was it your goal to have an emphasis in sports and entertainment law, or did your interest just evolve?
Actually, my interest, I would say it was a little bit in sports, but it was more really focused on changing the paradigm shift
Okay.
of African. So honestly, I wanted to, if you ever asked me what did I wanted to do in the field of law, I would have told you I wanted to become in-house legal counsel for an NFL or NBA organization, or in-house counsel for a particular team.
Okay.
Then what I wanted to do was to form or to be an outside associate for a boutique firm that specifically focused in wills and estates, right? And so when you deal with in transactional work, so when you deal in wills and estates, you're dealing with preserving, if they have a large estate of money, as we all know, like any, celebrity or anyone with a large significant amount of money, you want to protect those assets and grow those assets as well. And so I know from having a family member that's in professional sports, or just knowing about sports in general, I think among the African American community, we have finally realized that it is a 1 in million chance that that person makes it to the league and come into some type of significant wealth. So I wanted to be that individual that would take the person from the actual league or the team and filter them into the boutique firm in order for someone that looks like them, that understands where they're coming from and their struggle, and that understands, number one, I'm not an ATM, But number two, I do want to set my family in the right directions and correct some wrongs and educate the family. And so that's what I really wanted to do. However, someone told me that I may be in a conflict of interest when it comes, because if I had to litigate for the team and they're my client, there may be, if there's any type of feeling that I may be doing something that's more in the favor, I may do or litigate a little bit differently if the person wasn't my client outside of the actual league. But yes, I've always wanted to work in sports. Is that my mission in sports was a little bit differently. I wanted to make sure the athlete could shine after the field lights.
Gotcha.
And their family could feel those effects. And we would just start with one person at a time, and then we will work back with the family, because as the biblical, I don't know if I'm saying it quite right, but once you teach a man to fish, or once he can throw the net, he can learn how to fish on his own. And that person that's playing in the field, that's making the money, they don't feel like they're this constant ATM. That we have taught everybody in our family how to become self-sufficient, and I am not the ATM. But it had to take one person to kind of break the cycle a little bit. And I want that person to help break the cycle.
I love that though, because most people don't realize, unless you're into sports, an average football player's time on the field is 4 to 5 years, if that long. And so,
right, even with your running backs as well, because your running back, they even tried to form their own league, their own union. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just like you said, you want them to shine after the field. And that's where you'll spend most of your time, because your life will change drastically. Most competitors, they have an issue coming off the field or off the court, because it's like, what I'm going to do now? This is all I've ever done. This is what I know. And now you're setting them up to live off the field, have businesses, and like you said, not be the ATM for their families and friends, and teach them. So that's awesome. So, and it kind of segue into this. Per your bio, it says you advocate for women, economic development, education, and critical issues affecting sports, entertainment, and marginalized communities. Could you elaborate on that, on how you are advocating for these causes?
I would say, first of all, because of your ABA rules, I can't do that much. But
I know, but I'm saying, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but for my part in that part, so whenever I have, like, for instance, with the Mississippi Sports Law Review, one of in the actual law review journal, I will have what's called the editor note. And so actually my article is centered around negotiations with players on and off the field, and making sure that their contracts are right, and different negotiations on how maybe the league isn't playing that fair, and they are monetizing off of the player and not making sure that contracts and certain stipulations within the contract reflects what the player is doing for the team and or the league, and just different things like that. So when it comes to when I have a chance to maybe write about it, because sometimes it's just simply one article that someone gets, and it sets off a set of a chain of thinking from someone who is an influential player within the organization. Or whenever there's any type of organizations or any type of way that I can be a part of moving the conversation. Even when we had the GLOW conference last year, I created that as a platform, not only for students to engage with other people at the C-level, executive level, to find out what it takes to navigate as a minority, as a young person from Mississippi, But I also wanted a chance to allow people from different demographics that look like minorities from my marginalized communities to show that we are here and we are representing and we are in seats of decision making. And here's where we at, here's where you're needed, and here are the problems. And so you're at a better position, I believe, when you're entering into a field that you're new to know what the problem is and be an asset to help address the problem and become the solution to whatever problem there is.
That's awesome. Um, with all the and go, I'm gonna go back to that. You mentioned earlier about the contracts, and I thought about Ann Depner, which you mentioned. You know, she was on the Glow conference and she was on the show. She was actually, when she first started with the Minnesota Vikings, that's what she did. She worked with the players regarding their contracts and making sure they were getting fair salary and stuff. So that'll be awesome when you're able to get more into that part of it after you graduate or whatever. But that's a good thing. I'm glad you'll be involved with that, because a lot of people, they get taken right at the beginning because they're so happy just to get some money, especially coming from, poor communities. They're just happy to get anything and will sign their life away for measly bucks. So that's great. So with all the stresses that come with your job at Littler Middleton PC School and now editor in chief, what motivates you daily to keep pushing towards your ultimate goal?
To be quite honest, what pushes me daily are my parents.
That's all.
It's not even related to sports. It's just something that they have always been there at every level to support me, good or bad.
Mhm.
And this time of my life, I'm not married, nor do I have children. And normally you need that one thing that will keep pushing you no matter what,
Right.
sunshine, you have to have something that's driving you, that gives you a reason to wake up. And so that is my driving motivation, to be quite honest, at this point. That's all I think about.
That's awesome. That's good. That's a good thing. And, so I get it. That's a great thing. So besides you taking the bar exam after you graduate, what are your other plans after graduating?
My other plans actually, well, and going into the field of law, you can't really box yourself in.
Hmm.
The main thing, um, hopefully I can join a sports organization in some aspect, whether it's from the union side or it's with the NCAA or some type of sports organization where you're able to kind of get your feet wet.
Hmm.
If not, I would love to join a law firm and specialize in employment and labor law. Because specifically when you're going into a sports organization, whether you're working for the Players Association and or you're working for the league itself, you
Hmm.
need to be able to understand that important piece. And a lot of the employment labor law, especially union, traditional labor law, you're going to have to learn the different nuances and certain specifics that will be able to help your client. Or to help, or being, if you're working for the organization is the inner clients, the other people that I serve are my clients. So you have to be able to know those things, because normally when you go into a sports organization right off, there isn't any real training wheels. They expect for you
Right.
to know what you know. But sometimes there's this rare occasion where they'll allow you to stick your little pinky toe in and they'll come in and train you. So hopefully, I know the NFL has their NFL rotational
Hmm.
program, which they open up to postgraduates, or the NFL Management Council, which focus a lot on legal issues. Also, Valeria Williams, that worked for the
Hmm.
NFL, she works for football administration, and they deal with a number of things. Sometimes they on a Sunday it is a ton of lawyers looking at screens to make sure that the teams themselves didn't violate a league policy.
Right.
And then just other things are going on. So hopefully one of those doors will open. If not, I would just love to just get my feet wet with within a law firm, especially in their employment labor law arm, just to get the training that I need to better service my future clients, which hopefully will be in the field of sports.
Absolutely. From your mouth to God's ears, it's gonna
Okay.
happen. So
Yes.
let's talk a little sports. Have you, and I know you've been busy, especially last week, but have you been able to keep up with just a little Olympic news? It
Some,
more so with
some,
Simone. Some,
okay.
okay.
So with Simone, I'm always thinking, I read between the lines. And so even though she stated that it was a mental thing, there was there was an article that I read.
Mhm.
And so and it kind of gave a little snippet of a side conversation that she had with one of her teammates. And she said that I've already been to the Olympics, more like you haven't. So to me, I had thought, is this a strategy move? Even though people team, and that she let her team down, but then I thought, was she really a team player to allow the other team players on her team to shine? And so because
Um,
now she's about to compete. She's going to compete, and I just saw an article. She's going to compete.
in the
So
bounce
to
beam final.
Yeah, so to me, that kind of reined into maybe there was a little bit of stress. Now I do understand when you feel like the world is on your shoulders, because I was having a conversation with my mother and I said I understand, because I could be watching something and in one rare minute I will start to cry. And
Mhm.
it's because and sometimes I think I'm crazy, but it's like you're thinking about, like, you're in the fourth inning and it is you. It's like it's one of those, Steve McNair. It's like 10 seconds, he's at the other end of the field, and the only way they're gonna win if he throws that ball far enough wherever. And we've seen plenty of them. We could send it, we just watch the ball and it hit and it's touchdown. And so it's one of those things that when you feel like it's all on you and all eyes are on you, I got it. Like I understood it.
Well, I mean, and yeah, all eyes on her because she is considered the GOAT. So they're gonna be on the GOAT. A friend, well, I talked to a couple of people about it last week when she first left. I agree with you. Sometimes, people want to move out the way in order to let others shine because, like she said, I've been there. Then I was like, hmm. I was thinking from a girl's side, is she trying to get back to the States to be with her new boyfriend? He plays with it. I mean, I'm just saying, she's young. She's in her 20s. She's never had a
Right.
serious boyfriend before, and he fine. I mean, I get it. So I was like, it was a lot of stuff going on because when she used the um, stance regarding mental health, I said, well, she's the second player that has said this. Naomi Osaka was the first. And, you know, I appreciate that they're choosing their health, mental health over sports. But what are your thoughts on the stance? And do you feel that other athletes will use that stance as well to choose their mental health over the sport? Because think about it, when we were younger and when we would see gymnasts at the Olympics, they looked terrified, they looked scared, and it was just like, if I don't make this, I don't know what's going to happen. And they're like walking away from it. They're like, I love the sport, I appreciate what's happening to me. Yeah, they say I'm the GOAT, but I'm gonna pull back. So what are your thoughts on Will this become a trend for other athletes?
I don't necessarily call it a trend. I call it something that should have been addressed years ago. Because
Right, I agree.
I'm the first person to tell you I need a mental health day. Like I need to go home and just think about life and some things so I can get, because I'm no good. What I guess you have to think, I can bow out gracefully if I'm having this moment and I know I'm going to do bad, or
Mhm.
go through it just because they want me to. And they're going to talk about me anyway if I screw up.
Right.
So I might as well do what's good for me, because it's going to be more of a mental thing. Just think about, we go crazy if somebody says something wrong to us online, and we are just regular people. They're not affecting, but just think about now. It's not just one channel or one little comment online. You have thousands of media outlets that's going
Mhm.
to slander or have something to say about her. And I don't even like to sometimes, because everybody is making a lot of things a race issue, so I don't even like to bring that in. But just the aspect of like, I'm not feeling it, so I rather just step back and do my country a service and allow these other girls that can probably do a better job than I can, because right now my mind isn't in it. And when my
But
mind comes back in it, go ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead. When your mind comes back in it.
And when my mind is in it, yeah, when my mind is in it, I'll come back. But
Mhm.
and so that's how I look, because it was going to be a greater, it's going to be a greater, I guess, a greater way to see my name in the USA slandered, across tons of newspapers, the front of your internet page, Simone, no,
Mhm.
I rather that than this. So yeah.
Two things. What you said. First, a lot of people, and I'll say the majority of people that were chiming in, they were mainly supporting her decision to pull back due to her mental health. Whereas it was some saying that, she was weak, as they said, Naomi, and she's a disgrace to the country. So, you know, but my biggest thing, and I've always said this, I actually did a show with a psychotherapist last year regarding this. Athletes should not, in my opinion, should not be on social media when they're training and when their sport is in season, because it messes with your head. And that's where a lot of the mental health issues come from, because you're reading that crap. Whereas people from 20 years ago, even 10 years, did not have to deal with a lot of social media and a lot of internet press, because we didn't have it. So they just, you may have heard a couple of people say something, no big deal, you moved on. But if you're constantly reading what people are saying about you, yeah, keep your page going, but have an assistant typing your stuff up. You don't need to be on there. That's just my opinion.
No, you're totally right, because that's the same thing that I do in law school.
Oh, I
I
know.
will, I log off for 6 or 7 months because I'm like, everyone's having fun, and I start log off.
Right. Because you have a goal, and it's, you can't get sidetracked. And it's just like with the horses with the side bend, whatever they are, they can't see what's on the side of them. They're looking straight forward. And I really think a lot of the young athletes need to pull back off of social media. They shouldn't even allow them. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know. But a lot of the issues that they're having mentally, because you're constantly reading what people are saying, you're trying to be the best, and she's the best. I love Simone, and I wish her well. I hope she's fine, and I hope she does very well um, later on. With the being, what is the final, the
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Whatever. So, and Naomi, I wish her well too. I want them to do very well. There's some beautiful young women inside and out, and they should be treated as such. So
Yeah, and there's this one saying that I'm gonna steal from this girl. I was watching I Am Athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a black athlete who owned like the first black kind of like soul cycle thing like in Harlem or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
top
yeah.
notch.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a comment insulting the standard. And so I really like that a lot of the women athletes are insulting the standard. You're not going to worry me trying to live the standard that you have set for me. I'm going
Right.
to live my own. I'm going to live in my own box. And if I'm going to leave it, I'm going to leave it. So I love that. And so I was like,
I
I
like
love
that.
that the women are insulting the standards. So
I
yes.
like that. That's yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty dope. Hmm. Interesting. So, well, Brandy, before I let you go, I play a game that's called "You Can Get with This" or "You Can Get with That." Look at you. Yeah, we didn't have this last time. So, what it is, it's just a way for me and the listeners get to know the guests better. I'll
Okay.
ask a few questions, and you choose the one that best fits you. Okay? It's not hard. I
Okay.
promise. Look at your.
My
You're gonna love it.
Lord.
You're gonna love it. Trust me. So the first one, which this is gonna be hard for you because I know how you love these places, Bloomingdale or Saks.
Sax.
Okay. Beyonce or Solange.
Baby. Beyonce, honey. Yes. Yes.
Did you have to?
B, baby. B Queen B. Yes.
The elliptical or Stairmaster.
Elliptical.
I'm trying to get more into the Stairmaster right now. It's an all over body work, but it's you know how tough that thing is. That's crazy. I'm trying, so we'll see. Sephora or Fenty.
Fenty.
Fenty, okay. Pecan pie or key lime pie.
Pecan, honey. Brown sugar. Brown sugar.
Mississippi girl. Margaritas or mimosas.
Mimosas. Champagne.
I
Champagne.
know. Yes. Yes. Candlelit dinners or picnics in the park.
Candlelit dinners.
Okay. These are, these are two law movies. Just Mercy or Marshall. Did you see either of them?
Yeah, I was. That's
No.
why. That's why you heard some. My like. I'm gonna go with Marshall.
That's yeah, me too. I love that one. Um, Folgers or Starbucks.
Neither.
I'm really a girl.
Oh, girl, no, I hate coffee.
Really? Hmm.
The only time that I have ever drank coffee, one time in my life I was a flight attendant, and if I
Hmm.
was on an overseas flight, and I had already had my little time up in they have beds up in the ceiling of the plane, and
Hmm.
I needed to stay up. That's the only time, and it was the worst ever. And I only drank it for the caffeine part, but
Wow.
ugh, yeah.
That girl, I did not know you used to be a flight attendant. I got a job as a flight attendant at one of the airlines in Atlanta, but my mama, I was like early 20s and she wouldn't let me take it. She was like, "No." But I wanted to be a flight attendant so bad. That was
Oh,
how
I
long were you a
love
flight attendant?
I love being a flight attendant. I was a flight attendant from 2003 to 2006 with AirTran and United.
Wow.
And yeah, and I just thought it was a no-brainer. I was like, you telling me I'm gonna make this much money and all I have to do is serve drinks and peanuts?
And
Sign up.
sashay down the in the airport with your luggage. Okay.
And and all I had to do was smile.
Oh yeah, that's what we
That's
do. So it would have been perfect. So the
yeah.
last one may be a little tough, but either you choose is going to be great. They're both female attorneys.
Okay.
Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Why?
I like Kamala because she's been a little bit, I identify with her.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have a difference in a way that they approach politics.
Right.
And she's also had to overcome a lot, being that, for instance, when she became the attorney general for the state of California, do you know how many different people, diverse individuals, that she had to change their way of thinking of who could run the state from a legal aspect?
Mm-hmm.
Also too, it's been very controversial. And I think when Kamala became a very favorite of mine, which is very controversial, and my statements are not a reflection of the University of Mississippi School of Law. These are only Brandi Granderson. How I remember it was a portion in her book, and people always talk about her stance on criminal justice, and
Mm-hmm.
so she was, one of her biggest themes is that she was arresting the parents, and when they couldn't show up, and it was like, oh, they have to work. And sometimes it takes you seeing what the future may look like. So when I was working
Right.
for the Texas House of Representatives in Texas, and so I went on a tour of one of the representatives districts, and I literally broke down into tears because I remember this section of her book, and I said, this is what Kamala was talking about. And Sonia, when you roll down the street, it was this girl, and I want to say the house looked almost, it was maybe 2 steps away from being like a shack.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl was outside, dirty, and you could see there was another little girl that was probably maybe 10, and they were in, down the street was a school, and so you could tell the kids that had been to school. And I said, this is an instance where the mom had to go to work, somebody got to stay with the child, but this baby right here is going to end up being the statistic. Either she's going to be pregnant, she's going to end up in sex trafficking, and she's going to be in jail or something. And we're
Right.
going to end up paying the taxes for, like, she's going to be the person that your next politician is going to make a spectacle of. And so it's like a catch-22. We have to do something somewhere. It
Right.
doesn't feel right, but I have a job to do. And I think people don't understand. It's hard for them to separate feelings from doing the job.
Right.
And she has a bigger job than just how to make the next person feel good. And so that's the only difference. I mean, Stacey Abrams disturbed, what I'm saying, disturbed Georgia in a mighty way. But
No, not
everybody
only
has their
Georgia,
way.
but the country. You're right. She disturbed
Right,
him in a mighty way, sweetheart. It was, she did her
right.
thing,
But
and I'm thankful for her.
yeah, but it takes a different, it's no different. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It's
Right.
just simply who identifies with you and what they're, and some things that they're more passionate about, and what And I just
Absolutely.
identify with Kamala, and that's just simply it. I understand her story, and not only once, but God brought her back a second time around, and I understand that story.
Hmm.
She went out there, lost it all, thought it was all over. She was going back in her little, there's so many things. She was older when she got married.
Right.
It's so many just other little things outside of just the world of politics that I identify with.
Hmm.
And so, and God brought her back a second time around. And so now if something ever happens, she's the next person in line to take control of the world. And so it's just certain things you just got to learn like her story. She failed the bar the first time. You know, I hope I'm a first time bar passer, but it's just certain things that I identify with, and both are great women in their own unique way.
That's right. Absolutely. That's great. So, Brandi, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much.
No, thank
Tell the listeners,
you.
you're welcome. Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media. And is the journal, the MSLR journal, is that open to anyone or just law and attorneys and stuff like that?
So the Mississippi Sports Law Journal, when there's any type of comments or any publishing, those are normally only just open to law students and legal practitioners
Okay.
or faculty law or faculty of law. So
Gotcha.
that's what
Okay.
that normally do. And you
Okay.
can follow me simply on social media, just at Brandi Granderson. Those are my handles on every social media platform.
And that's Brandi with an I, Brandi Granderson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, and that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.